But yeah, when you thought I was
Well,
live,
I look. He even has the tongue sticking out.
oh my gosh. I'm done with you. I can't with you no more. You're a freaking idiot. I can't with you. oh my gosh. I don't even know what I was going to look up now. Crap. But yeah, these past few days have been really nuts. So especially with the recent video I made when you thought I was live. I wasn't really live. Oh, I'm actually going to put that in here, actually. I was just doing some videos because I was trying to like do more content for a little bit because there's times I don't have a lot to post study videos and whatnot. So I'm trying to get back into that a little bit more, but work is not exactly letting me do that at the wee moment. Did I? Yeah, I didn't put that in there. Okay. I want to make things a little bit more interesting. Give me a second here. Oh, I know what's going
on. Sorry about that.
What was that about?
That was a neighbor's dog.
Sounds like a pit bull based on the sound.
Yeah, it's a pit bull.
That's what I thought. I really don't have anything much planned. I'm just gonna sit here and do this. Give me just 1 second. I'll pull it up in a second.
Righty.
Share screen, yes, please. Because this is literally what I've been doing. Is like doing reaction videos. This is literally all I've been doing. Some of them are basically biblical based as well. This one's from Abrahamic Faith.
Chupacabra?
Yeah, because I was actually looking at this stuff a little bit more too. Because I got a few books recently. I didn't buy them, but I didn't steal them either. I got them for free. They're like PDFs because I didn't want to have a whole lot of books around. Because my mom's a hoarder, and I got one that's called Jewish Bestiary because I was curious about the unicorn stuff, and I'm still studying that.
Huh.
And
So
then,
what is it? Like
what is
Jewish?
unicorn?
So what is that about?
I'll actually show you. Give me 1 second. I got the book. Actually, let me just show you what it is before I even think about doing that. Hang on. Let me present. Actually, wait. Remove that. How do I? Okay, stop screen share. Okay, so let me go over here real quick. I suck at this. There we go. This is the Jewish bestiary. Let me see if I can pull this up. Now, anyone can get this on Amazon too, but I did the PDF download one. Let me see if I can find the whole. Actually, I was going to do this. If you want to take a look at this mic, you can.
Huh. Interesting. I didn't know they had like a. I didn't know Jews had like an established like mythology like that or anything.
I personally didn't think so either, but I decided to look at this. No, back off. This is my food. The only reason why I was even trying to look something like this up because the Jews for the unicorn, the Hebrew word saraim or something like that.
Yeah,
and
that's
supposedly
just,
it's supposed to be.
I'm pretty sure it's just talking about like a. I think it's probably talking about a rhino. Because if you look at the Latin Vulgate, it translates literally rhinoceros. In the Latin Vulgate and the Greek, you could probably take it to mean a rhinoceros too. So.
With the Latin, I do know
But
it's.
a lot of scholars think they could be talking about a type of ox, so it's either one of the two.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a literal. I don't think it's a literal unicorn because the idea of a unicorn is like a late European thing.
Yeah.
People in the Middle East wouldn't have really been a thing back
Yeah, I was
then.
going to say, because when I looked at the stuff for Raim, and especially with the Latin Vulgate, it used the word unicornus, and I do know what that means. Unicornus and
Yeah.
bicornus, I do know what it means.
Yeah, it just means any animal that might have one horn, because that's how they interpret it. But if you look at the actual verse, the actual Hebrew word, there's no indication actually of how many horns it actually has. It could be a two-horned animal, but just because of the fact that sometimes it mentions it as like a horn, they interpret it to mean, oh, maybe it's something with one horn, but there's actually no solid scriptural proof of that.
Exactly.
So
That's what I was trying to
be,
find out.
it doesn't necessarily have to be the one-horned rhino. It could be a type of oxen, like other scholars believe. But I find the rhino interesting. Rhino is really big. It's really aggressive, which is consistent with how this animal is being described in the scripture, right? It's not talking about like a fairy unicorn prancing around, farting glitter dust or something. Like, it's clearly talking about like a dangerous wild animal. Like, it's not
Right.
a fairy tale type. Like, you can tell from the context of what it's actually describing. Like, this is a ferocious animal. So a rhino would make sense. I guess an oxen could too, but a rhino is like more scary,
Yeah, that's why I was trying to research about a little bit more for this reason, because I even looked at stuff with the Arabian oryx or whatever, and for me personally, that would make more sense because they kind of do like a unicorn. They turn their head a certain way or whatever. They use the word Ra'im in this book, but for the unicorn, like the picture you see right here, they call this the thing Tahash. The only issue with the Tahash is that Tahash means badger. So I don't know where they get that from.
Huh.
Actually, let me see if I can pull that up. Give me a second. Let me see if I can pull that up. And yeah, I know, folks, using Google's not exactly the best thing to do, but actually, wait, did I? No, I open up a new tab.
What else are you going to use? Just look something up.
That's all you really can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like, sometimes you gotta really fish for stuff, and sometimes if you're looking for something scholarly, you might have to go to like Google Scholar to find something what you're looking for.
Let's see. I need this. I think so. I don't know. Oh, nope. Screw you. No. Get in here. Thank you. Here we go. Okay, let's see here. I need Bible Hub. I need the interlinear, if I could find it. Okay, so here's this word. So there's that. And supposedly they say, according to Jewish mythology, this was talking about the unicorn. Let's see. And then
let me see. So
I'll wait for a minute because I know you're probably looking at that. I'll let you be for that.
So that upside down E represents a shva. So it's like the U and like sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like het. So that's a ka sound in the back of the throat. It's hard to tell because I'm looking at it on the phone, so the letters are really small.
Let me see if I can blow
so
it up.
That's tacha. So it's with a long A, so it's tachashim. Tachashim.
There you go. How's that?
Yeah, tachashim. Tachashim. Try pronouncing that.
Takshim.
No, it's the upside down E is a sound. It's a kind of a soft sound, so it's kind of like an like
I'm
So
gonna need a 500.
Takshim. Huh?
I was gonna say I'm gonna need a 500-gallon jug of water just so I can talk like that, because there ain't no way I can do it.
I don't know. I just can somehow. I guess it's just a gift from God.
Yeah, because here's the thing: I don't think I can produce enough spit to do that. I'm not being rude, folks. I'm not. I do respect the
Yeah,
Hebrew language, but
not even most. I don't think even most Hebrew roots can pronounce stuff like that. Like they just use Americanized pronunciation.
yeah, like Salawam or whatever they say.
Yeah, shalom. That's not even Hebrew, dude. Shalom. No, it's shalom, you idiot. But yeah, the Black Hebrew Israelites, they have their own like made up version of Hebrew that's not even real Hebrew.
I noticed that.
It's like, and they'll tell you that before modern Hebrew, supposedly there was only one vowel. There's only a. It's like, how the heck are you supposed to differentiate between words if there's only one vowel? That makes no sense. Like,
oh yeah, while we're on the subject, when people say Yahuwah or Yahusha, what is that about? What do they call that? I take it.
Yeah, that's just Afrocentrists with their made up pronunciations. It's not legit. So
okay, that's what
I believe the original it's not a doctrine. It's not important. It's not theologically important. But I believe that the divine name of God in the Old Testament was pronounced Yehovah, which is Jehovah.
Yeah.
It's exactly as it shows up in the King James. They got it right because they'll tell you like the vowels were added to it from the word Adonai because they would substitute it with Adonai, which is true. But again, that my 2 cents theory is that, well, what if the reason Adonai became associated with the divine name to begin with was because they already had the same vowels to begin with? That would just, I don't know, that's one possibility, as opposed to them just adding the vowels onto the word. Like they just were already linked because they just happened to share the same vowel. So that would mean that Yehovah is actually the original pronunciation.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I'm not sure if you know about this guy on TikTok, Lord, but he goes by John Truth. And he's using the Sefer Bible and go like, so he pronounced this like Yahuwah and Yahusha. Like,
what is it? What is it like? Is it like the what do they call it? The Sefer or whatever?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That whole thing's a scam. It's just a money making scam.
That's what I thought.
They're selling it. It's to make money.
That's literally what I thought, because I'm like, wait a minute, what is all this crap? That's what I didn't get.
Yeah, that supposed translation of the Bible, which all they did was just took the King James and just slapped a whole bunch of supposed Hebrew names onto it. That's all they did. They didn't. It's not their own translation.
Yeah, because I was trying to find out what that was all about because I heard of it.
And then they sold it for like I think like $50 or something. I think to get a copy of that stuff. I could be wrong, but I think it's like either like 30 something or 50 something or something like that. Like they charge like for literally the King James, which just pretty much just the King James, which is a bunch of wacko Hebrew roots called supposed Hebrew names, fake Hebrew names.
One thing about that, they had something called the original Bible, and the supposed divine edition, they were charging, I think, like $1,000 just for that. I'm like, are you serious?
It's crazy. Again, you can literally get a regular King James at the Dollar Tree for like $1.
Or $1.25 now.
And some places you can even get it free. I mean, they'll hand it out. And the thing about the King James, and I'm not King James only this, but I'm just saying the thing about the King James compared to the newer translation is that it's not copyrighted. All the newer translations are copyrighted.
Like the New King James?
I think so, yeah. Again, I'm not saying you can't use any of them or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, why are they copywriting Bible translations?
Because you're stupid.
Yeah.
Unless I haven't eaten anything all day. Give me a second. Don't look at me like that. It's my food. No.
What if you got a cat?
No. I think I told you already. I moved to Knoxville, and my friends, they got 3 dogs. So when you have
cool.
food, they like you go like, please. No.
Yeah. You know, rice, stuff like rice is actually good for dogs. It's actually recommended you should give your dogs rice.
I did not know that. What's that supposed to do?
It's just protein and it's good for them. It's not like other people food where it's bad for them. Because a lot of these dog food brands are like actually really bad for dogs.
Mhm.
They put trash in it. It's toxic. It's not really good for them. Certain brands are really good, but you gotta like really look out. So it's recommended. You should just give your dogs meat, like cut meat, like you can give it to them raw, cooked, doesn't matter. Just don't put any seasoning or anything. But certain seasonings and things can be toxic to them. But like if it's just regular meat, it's very good for them. It's probably better than most dog food. Rice is good for them. What else? There's some other things. Chicken's very, very good for dogs.
Pumpkin. There's that too. Pumpkin.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't heard of that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
No, supposedly with the pumpkin, I've noticed when I start looking up some stuff, because like I said, the dogs are not mine, but
Yeah.
supposedly pumpkin is some kind of like antibiotic for them or whatever, for building up gut health or probiotic, something like that. So that like
There's a lot of
probiotic.
stuff because dogs have been domesticated for what, like thousands of years. So like they're more omnivorous than like wolves, their ancestors. I mean, wolves will eat like grass and certain plants and stuff to kind of like supplement their diet. But like dogs their stomachs are much more adaptable. I mean, you still got to be careful, obviously. You can't just give them anything, obviously. But there's certain things there's a wide variety of things that are actually good for dogs that you would be surprised.
Yeah, because with dogs, I have noticed they do eat a lot of stuff, including vomit and poop. I'm like, here's the most messed up story, and like I said, folks, it's chill live, so we're not really doing anything, but we're talking biblical stuff, but we're talking about regular stuff along the way. I remember as a kid, and you can laugh all you want, Mr. Balaam's donkey. When I was a kid, I don't know what went through my mind. But truthfully and honestly, like, I don't know what happened, but I picked up what I thought was a candy bar off the floor, but no, it was a piece of poop. And I actually
Dog
did.
crap?
It was something.
Um,
I actually did take a bite. I'm not gonna lie. I did spit it out, but I did take a bite.
how old are you? Like 5?
I was probably like 5 or 6 when I did that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was fixing to say.
No, you really think I'm gonna be that stupid growing up? And I'm like, ooh, piece of poop. No, it's not chocolate. And back then, it should have ruined chocolate for me.
I remember seeing this post from this African American guy. He said a little white girl walked up to him and said, "A beautiful chocolate man." Like this.
What?
It's like a little 5-year-old girl walked up to this guy, a little white girl, was like, "A beautiful chocolate man."
What the hell?
But it's a little kid, like it's innocent.
I know, that makes it better. Oh my gosh. Oh, I almost peed myself. Oh, that was great. Oh no!
But he thought it was cute. You know, like he was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, because a little kid ain't gonna know better.
Yeah,
Right?
but
Little kid's
like-
not being racist. As far as she knows, it's a man who's
yeah, they're
basically made out
they
of
don't-
chocolate.
They
As
don't
far as
think
she's
like
concerned.
that.
As far as you're concerned, it's a
They're
man
kids.
made out of chocolate.
They don't. The wonderful thing about kids is that they're colorblind. They don't see color.
Yeah. Well, not technically colorblind, but I know where you're going at with that. I do know what you mean.
But yeah, but like they don't think in that way. You know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my stomach hurt. That was great. Mm. You gotta love kids. You gotta love kids.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna play this before something else happens. Okay, so for anyone's wondering, this is from a channel called Abrahamic Faith. There's some questionable things on this channel, but a few things on this channel I do like that's more informational. Well, let's just do it. I'll give my thoughts after this.
These are true stories coming from the same people I've been talking to in Texas, and she experienced this being, and so did a ranch lady. And it's a short story, and it's creepy. So most of these type of things like Bigfoot, Chupacabra, they seem to be demonic too. Because wherever they go, animals, crickets, everything else stop. This is what this lady said. That's a good throughout Texas. People have had run-ins.
Okay, hold up. I do know about this one part. Here's why. Because
Yeah.
especially when
So
it
wait,
came to
what
cases.
hold on, let me ask a question real quick. What did he just say? He said like the animals stop. They just like stop moving, or they drop dead. Like what did he say exactly?
I can rewind it a bit. Hang on, let me rewind it a bit.
Yeah.
Because I actually want to talk about that too a little bit. I'm just gonna go at 20 seconds.
Yeah.
That way we get the whole thing in there.
Foot,
But I was saying that because animals have instincts.
they seem to be demonic too. Because wherever they go, animals, crickets, everything else stop. This is what this lady said.
In other words, they don't make no sounds. And here's what I was gonna say next. Especially when it came to Bigfoot reports, if they're in a spot and it's dead silent, no birds chirping, no squirrels running about or anything, everything's dropped dead silent, you know something's gonna go down.
Yeah,
I have noticed that.
You know what? Because that's crazy. You know what? When I was still like I was kind of coming out of the occult, but I wasn't like I was still I was still kind of attached to it.
Yeah.
Like I'm still figuring it out. I didn't fully understand like what it does, like how bad it is, because I was new. But when I was in that sort of phase, my grandpa died, so we went all the way to Florida to my grandma to for the funeral. Me and my dad, and she had a bunch of these cats. And I remember one of those encounters when we were staying over the night. I was sleeping on the couch, and the cats were. Those cats are funny. They would climb all the way up into the top of the cabinets and like get inside the cabinets. It was funny because that's where they kept the cat food. They would get into it. But the entity appeared, and it was like kind of a see-through, shadowy kind of figure. And it was kind of materializing, like kind of manifesting. Right. And the cats looked straight at it, like really aggressively, like you know the way their back like gets stiff and they like, they get on their haunches, like how cats do that.
Yeah, like they
started hissing at it, looking straight at it. That's how I knew it was real, because it wasn't just me; they were seeing it too.
Yeah, because they know animals are more in tune with supernatural than we are, really.
Well, they just have a heightened senses and more instincts, heightened.
Yeah, like us. Yeah. I mean, let me say it like this: our senses, to a degree, are heightened up, but it's only with the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, well, the thing is, animals, they're affected by the fallen nature. They're affected by original sin, but because they're animals, they don't know any better. They can't be guilty of sin. So the same separation that happens with man and God doesn't really happen the same with animals. So I think that it would explain why they can be more spiritually in tune than most humans.
Yeah.
Because that sort of separation doesn't occur the same. Because they don't have moral accountability. Even though they're affected by the fallen nature.
Right, because like I was saying, I'm just getting my stuff up a little bit. I do notice that. I forgot what I was gonna say next. Shoot. Okay, whatever.
And honestly, humans are just dumb. Let's just be real.
Oh, there's a lot of dumb people, that's for sure. And not just because of the video I made last night. There's a lot more people than that.
Yeah, like people don't know the difference between a man and a woman. They're confused about their gender. That's a prime example right there. We've reached a whole new level with that. Like as a species, as a society, like we've really reached a new level.
Oh my God, worse over time.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else he has to say.
That's a good, throughout Texas, people have had run-ins with this chupacabra, and also these Mexicans say that's one way you can tell. And it's the same way with UFOs when they come into an area, or aliens, because it's all demonic, that the animal kingdom senses it, and boy, do they run. They get out of there.
What were we just talking about? What the hell were we just talking about?
Language.
Hell's not a bad word. I can say a lot worse. But here's the thing. What were we just literally talking about? Literally just a couple seconds ago.
I know. Confirmation, right?
Good Lord.
Sorry, I have to do the donkey thing.
You're a freaking idiot. See what I got to deal with, folks? One of my friends is a dumbass, and he lives doing that.
They go hiding. They're quiet. They avoid because it's so evil. See, so it proves that it's sort of like there's a spiritual aspect to all this, and so remember that. You know, your window's open, you hear the birds, and everything's great, and everything gets quiet all of a sudden. Run for your shotgun.
Here's our thing with that too, and I've been watching a little bit of L.A. Marzulli. In some forests, and this is where I feel like a good majority of the occultic activity happens more, is when it's very deserted. So when you're in the forest or whatever, LA, he was talking about these portals that were opening, and someone managed to get a portal that was open on video. And you can even see the entity standing right in front of it, and he looks pissed. You look at this thing, I'm not sure if this thing was like some kind of small creature or whatever, but he was pissed. Like, he goes like, you better run before I kill you. That was his look on his face.
That's another thing. These some manifestations, they can actually kill you. They can literally kill you. And even like non-corporeal manifestations, like just spiritual infestations of demons, can kill people. Like they could, because when a person's like demonized or possessed at a certain point, like it takes a toll on their body. Like they get dehydrated, it drains them, it drains their health, their life force.
Yeah.
They get very weak, and you can just tell like they're just emaciated. And I think towards the end of her life, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not confusing her with someone else, I believe a similar thing happened with Marilyn Monroe. And she was talking about how she's basically talking about demons, because you know, one of the people who works with her reported that she would walk around the drawing room, like when they were writing the scripts, and she would chant, spirits come and aid me in my cause," or something like that. And she would like do spells and rituals, and she would do automatic writing. So she would channel the demons, and
Marilyn Monroe
write the scripts for her. Marilyn Monroe. This is way back, like 1920s or something, 1930s. And but she, towards the end of her life, like I think she had like a health decline, I believe. I have to look it up again, but I think she had like serious like decline. mentally, physically, and she was talking about how she's talking about the demons. Like there's so many demons in her, right? But she says, I'm so many different people at once that I don't know who I am anymore. And she was literally being tormented by these demons. And it took a toll on her.
That feels like with when The Dark Knight came out back in 2008, Heath Ledger, they had like this type of
Similar thing happened to Heath Ledger, and he ended up taking
method acting, because
that's one of the things they'll do. It's either they'll just cause you to just die, like get sick and just die, or they'll cause you to commit suicide. They'll cause a freak accident to happen that will kill you. There's a number of ways demons will take people out.
Good gonna say this. Even so,
but as for corporeal manifestation, where it's like a demon's taking on like a physical or semi-physical like manifestation, they can physically kill you. So it's like it's even worse, you know?
Right, because I was gonna say with his fellow actors and actresses who were on the set of The Dark Knight, even the directors were saying it was like he was the Joker, like. He was in tune to it and everything. He was stayed in.
Yeah, this is what they do. They channel. This is what actors do. There's this video I combined some clips from Little Light Studios. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah, I know about that.
Yeah. They made a few videos. I took some like clips and put it together. It's on my channel if you want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to check out the original video, but it's a lot longer. I kind of just combined the clips together to make it shorter. But actors admit that they channel demonic spirits. It's way more commonplace than most people will think. It's very common. They showed a clip of what was his name, Jack Nicholson. He played the Joker as well.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson, and he was I think it was like an Emmys or something with this other actress, and she was talking about how they were auditioning or they were shooting, and she said he started speaking in multiple voices at once, so multiple simultaneous levels of sound per words at the same time. And she said, Nick, what was that? And he said, he's like, I'm many. He said something like, I'm trying to remember exactly what she said, but it's like he said, like I'm many things to many people, or something like that. And she said, no, you were channeling. And it's like they know what that is. Like it's common knowledge. It's like they talk about it. It's very common among actors. Like they talk about channeling. It's an actual thing. And not all of them might recognize or know that it's demonic, but they know what channeling is. They talk about it. So it's very interesting.
Sometimes I feel like they keep coming up for characters for each channeling being. So here's why. I remember one channel. I'm not even sure if it's even still up anymore. This guy was channeling being. Yeah.
There was this other one where, actually, I should just show you guys the clips if you want to look it up real quick. But there's this one where, what's his name? Hugh Jackman, the guy who plays Wolverine, right? Hugh Jackman. And he was talking about how he got into acting, like how he started. And he said this lady approached him, and she said she was a witch. But he said, "Oh, but I'm a good witch." Which is, they always say that, right? And she said, she gave him instructions on like what to do to get a role. And it's like witches are going around selecting people because the spirits tell them like, oh, look at that person. Like it's really orchestrated. But go on to look up Michael Turnage. So that's one of my channels. And the video should be on there. Scroll down. Hold on. So look up Michael Turnage. It should have a profile picture of a lion. Just scroll down.
Here we go.
Okay, that one, the lion, right there. All right, go to videos.
All right.
Okay, look at the one where it says actors. Scroll down more. It should be one that says actors, channel demonic spirits. There, that one. It shows the demon whispering in the guy's ear.
Where am I? Oh, this one?
Yeah, that one. That's it.
Our culture is complete.
Actually, hang on. Let me do this. That way I can get it on so everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Go over here.
I messed up on the editing a little bit where it's kind of overlapped weird. So it's like I don't know, like it somehow duplicated the text on the screen that I put on, and it's like, I don't know, it's like it's at a different part of the video, so it's like duplicated, but the text shows up at a random spot, so it might be a little bit confusing. But that's just I just messed up on the editing there. That's all that is. So don't just ignore that.
All right, and here we go. How much would you want to be played? Because I can tell it's like an hour and 15 minutes.
Just play it right now. I'll tell you where to skip.
Okay.
Our culture is completely obsessed with celebrities. Each year when the Oscars rolls around, we got about 30 to 40 million people that tune in to watch their favorite films being honored for Best Picture, Craftsman, Artistry. We call it the Oscars, and people are obsessed with it. And when you get this little golden statue, you become a star. What's interesting about this is in the Egyptian culture, they also had a little statue that represented the god Ptah. And see, when a Egyptian king died, it was believed...
Skip a little to how far?
People can go back to the original video and watch it, but I want to show the part where it talks about like the stuff that really shocked me, you know.
So how far was it?
Maybe like around there. Oh wait, no, before that. Hold on. Like about that right there.
Right here?
Right there. Yeah, just right there.
Let me go here. Okay.
Celebrities have come out and admitted their connection to Freemasonry. In the book Morals and Dogma, written by Albert Pike, on page 321, Freemasons let us know exactly who their God is. It says, Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name given to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning, it is he who bears the light. And with it, splendors intolerable, blinds, feeble, sensual, or selfish souls, doubt it not. When the movie Life is Beautiful was awarded at the Oscars, the camera quickly pulls back and shows a wide of the stage. When you pause it, you can see elements of Freemasonry built into the very set. If you look at a Masonic tracing board, a tool a Mason uses to teach and educate people involved in Freemasonry how to spot things that are connected to that organization, you can see the checkered floor, you can see the archways, you can see the sun motif in the background. All of these are letting you know exactly who owns this organization. When the Oscars moved from 1999 from the Shriners Building to the Kodak Theater, where it currently resides today, you can still see a lot of these elements of Freemasonry incorporated into the stage. You have the sun motif in the ceiling. You have the checkered flags upon the stage and the arches. Outside of the Kodak Theater, you have the gate to Ishtar. And you have Babylonian gods put on the outside of the gate.
Sorry if I'm not paying attention, but
No, sorry.
someone decided to go ahead and attack me again. It's from TWC, and these are idiots. They even try to make a thing about me, the Tale of Two Brandons.
Well, just ignore them for now.
Idiots.
I think people probably need to see this, so
Yeah.
just ignore them for now and deal with them later.
Yeah.
Don't let the devil distract you. But yeah, this is really exposing. Like once you realize the pagan, then you realize how paganism got started and why the Old Testament is like so harsh against it, because you realize it's not just made up like entities, like it's real demons that they're worshiping. And I was in the sort of Wicca paganism kind of thing, so when that hit me, that when God like shined the light and that realization hit me, I was like, man, this is deceptive on so many different levels. It's unbelievable. Somebody's got to expose it.
Right. I'll get back over here. Okay.
Because I literally have debates, like a whole entire arguments with neo-pagans, pagans, about whether or not their gods are demonic. And I'm like, dude, it even says in like these occult texts that they're literally the same entities. Like how can you not see this? Read the book of Enoch, read the Genesis 6, like it talks about it. Even Paul says, like, what they sacrifice to idols, they sacrifice to demons. And if you look at the Septuagint translation of, I forgot the exact verse number. I'll bring it up in a second. But it talks about in the Septuagint translation, right? The Hebrew or the Masoretic text says idols, but the Septuagint literally says all the gods of the Gentiles are demons, but the Lord made the heavens. Now the Masoretic text says idols, but there's a lot of reasons for why the Septuagint is better than the Masoretic text. Every single area where the Dead Sea Scrolls differs from the Masoretic text, it confirms the Septuagint.
Man. Wait, that even goes alongside with Isaiah chapter 3, verse 13, I think, where it talks about, like, God, I'm not sure this is part of it, where God would let loose the giants to give out his wrath or something like that. Let me take a look. Hang on.
Really? It says that?
I'm trying to remember because I know
that
it says something about that, but it was more mentioned in the Greek Septuagint than it was in the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
Let me see if I can find.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's like
Amos.
I was looking at Genesis, right? And I was looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls of Genesis, and I've become a little bit acquainted with Hebrew, so I can kind of read it. My vocabulary isn't that big, but I can. Yeah. I'm not by any means fluent, but I know a little bit of Hebrew. So I was looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls, various different manuscripts among the Dead Sea Scrolls, because Genesis 1 occurs in like at least like a dozen different manuscripts in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I was comparing them to the Masoretic, and I was looking at the Septuagint because I saw some scholarly notes that said that like they align with the Septuagint. I'm like, wow, that's wild.
Okay, so I don't remember fully what it said in the Septuagint, but it says it here in Isaiah 13:3. It says, "I have commanded my sanctified ones; I have also called my mighty ones for my anger, those who rejoice in my exaltation." So the mighty ones, sometimes it means
that's Gibborim, that's giants. It doesn't always mean giants, but in some contexts, it specifically refers to giants. So how I know that is because the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Giants and other texts in the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's one Aramaic word that always refers to giants in those texts. And it's Giboriah, which is just the Aramaic version of Gibborim. It's the Aramaic plural. So sometimes it's Gibborim or Giboriah, just two different ways of pluralizing in Aramaic. And in the Hebrew Dead Sea Scrolls, that's referred to as Gibborim.
Now, just
and of course, the Watchers is the Aramaic word Iriah, Irim, Ir, and it's an Aramaic word, but then the Qumran, the Dead Sea Scrolls, they use a Hebrew, they adopt that word into Hebrew, which is the plural in Hebrew is Irim. So they actually adopt that same Aramaic word into certain Dead Sea Scroll texts that are also written in Hebrew. Because some are in Hebrew, some are in Aramaic. But it's interesting to see like that overlap.
And I'm gonna say it's also, folks, for clarification. Now, I don't fully prescribe to the Book of Enoch. However, do I acknowledge?
I don't think it's scripture. It's not scripture, but I think it's historical. Like it contains things that actually did happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean it should be in the Bible.
I was gonna say, like, there's some truth to it. I know that because if you compare it with the Bible, you can see
again,
yeah.
This is kind of my line of reasoning. So it doesn't mean it has to be in the Bible.
Yeah.
Because something can contain like truth and like historical truth, but it does not. That doesn't make it scripture. But Jude quotes from Enoch, right? And he says, the seventh from Adam prophesied. So notice he says Enoch prophesied. He doesn't say the book of Enoch says, or it says in the book of Enoch. He says Enoch said this.
Yeah.
Enoch gave a prophecy about the return of Christ. So my question is, well, we know Enoch said this because Jude, under the inspiration, said that Enoch said this. But my question is, how did the authors of the book of Enoch know what Enoch actually said? How did they know that? Like, how did they get access to that? Were there records or something passed down? Like, how did that? Or maybe they had some type of, I don't know, experience. It was revealed to them, maybe. And that wouldn't necessarily make it scripture, because again, somebody can have genuine revelation, like visions, like a pastor, so and so can have a vision from God. That doesn't mean that vision needs to be written in the Bible, right? But either they had some type of revelatory thing going on, or they had reliable records, either written or oral, passed down to them. Otherwise, how else do they end up with an accurate information, word for word, of something Enoch actually said? Hundreds, thousands of years after the flood. Like, how did that happen? So we can't just discredit it altogether, because it contains something that a historical person before the flood actually literally said, according to Jude. And it's a prophecy. It's a literal prophecy about Christ. So again, we can't just discredit it altogether, but that doesn't mean it needs to be in the Bible. So you got to have that balance. Because we know for a fact that we have manuscripts, the Dead Sea Scrolls, that predate Jesus by hundreds of years, like 200-300 years before Christ. So we know that Jude was written after. So as Jude is referring to something that is also written in the book of Enoch, that's a quote from Enoch. Enoch literally said this thing. It's a literal prophecy. If they were just literally making stuff up, how would they know that? Like, how would they get right about something? And if they were right about that, then the question is, well, what other things were they right about?
Exactly. Is there anything else in this video we need to address or anything?
Yeah, I was going to show you the clip. Just keep playing it for now. But I'm going to skip it to the part where it talks about like these actors from their own mouths, like literally exposing what's going on. But I'll just play it Just play it real quick, because this is just a short clip about the fallen angels or whatever. But like they all have wings. I mean, tell me that doesn't look like angels, right?
Outside of the Kodak Theater, you have the gate to Ishtar, and you have Babylonian gods put on the outside of the gate.
Just real quick.
I think it's replaying it. You can skip it.
Okay.
I think that's where I messed up on the editing.
Right here, that was not going too far.
Babylonian gods put on the outside of the gate. The whole area surrounding the Kodak Theater was designed after a 1916 movie called Intolerance, where they recreated the very set that they had for Babylon. They have the same exact elephants. They have the same exact gate of Ishtar. They have the same exact Babylonian gods over the top of the gates. You see, if you go and visit the very home of the Oscars, where they hold it each year, you can see a plaque on the wall that says the Babylonian Court. At the 2016 Oscars for Best Cinematography Award, the camera shows you the stage, and you see an unmistakable Tower of Babel.
Yeah, I see it.
Into the design.
There it is, right in your face. Like, they're not even hiding it. That's wild.
And then we launched into the first take.
Okay, here it is. Here it is.
I did not know
Here it
that,
is. Play this.
Okay.
And two voices came out of you. Do you remember this? Two voices, and they were simultaneous words, but they were sound. And I looked over at you. You were amazed. I was amazed, and you said, "Well, sure. Oh, I'm many different people." I said, "No, Jack, you're channeling."
So they all know exactly what she's talking about. That's why they're like,
because they all talk about
that.
Two
They get it.
different voices.
That's crazy.
You couldn't try that. You cannot produce that.
No idea.
You know
That's
what I
like
mean?
textbook demonic possession.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've
That
actually
doesn't even-
heard of that before
Yeah,
too.
that doesn't even feel new age. And what I saw, that seems like straight demonic.
Right? These guys are literally tapping into this spiritualistic world to help them undertake these crazy rules. That's why I really
All right. Yeah, skip it a little bit.
Okay.
I want to see if I can find the part where it's and anyone wants to, they can just watch the whole thing. Wait, go back. Wait, I think that was the one of Marilyn Monroe. Wait, hold on.
There's
All right, just play
Crowley.
it from there. Where Aleister Crowley? Yeah, just play it from there.
All right, let me see.
Aleister Crowley.
Right there.
secret and really dealing with thinking about yourself and how you could manifest those things. This is kind of like that, but with sort of like up a few notches kind of a thing, So he wrote a book called Magic and Practice and Theory. Listen to what he says. There are three main methods for invoking any deity. So you want to invoke a god into your life. He said the third method is the dramatic and perhaps the most attractive of all. Certainly it is to the artist's temperament, for it appeals to the imagination through his aesthetic sense. Let me put that in layman's terms for you. If you want to invoke a spirit into your life, he's saying that one of the three great ways to do this is through acting. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Hollywood is very into this guy.
It goes back to
Socrates, he wrote a lot about the muse. What is a muse? Muse, do you know?
An inspiration, right?
Inspiration, like, what gives you your inspiration? And this is what he says. In like manner, the muse, first of all, inspires men herself because they are inspired and possessed. They are simply inspired to utter that which the muse impels them to do. And you talked a little bit about this on the show. It's like, you've got these voices that are talking to you and inspiring you to do this or to do that, right?
And kind of showing you a slideshow of some new thing or whatever,
Right. So Socrates is saying the same thing. For not by art or by knowledge do you say what you say, but by possession. Which is kind of an interesting idea that he was bringing
ancient
out.
Greece.
This came from a book called Actors on Acting. Now I'm going to go over some history. Okay, so this you may or may not have ever heard of these kind of actors. These are well before your guys' time, and well before ours, actually, contrary to maybe your belief. Have you ever heard of Rudolph Valentino?
No.
Okay, Rudolph Valentino was like the Brad Pitt of the 1920s. You have heard
black
of
and
Brad
white Brad Pitt.
Pitt. Okay, you know who Brad Pitt is. Okay, we're on the same
The
page
black
here.
and white Brad Pitt.
Yes, literally. This guy was literally so immensely famous. His movies were all about like passion and love, and he would always get the girl, and he was like this ladies' man, right? And when Rudolph Valentino would go out in public, people were so obsessed with him that there was these crowds that would form around him, and he often had to walk around with police officers because it was like riots would almost happen, right? This guy was immensely famous. But what people don't realize is that actually the movies that Valentino made were from his wife, Natasha, who was a huge spiritualist. So listen to this quote. Every night, Valentino's wife, Natasha, would hold a seance calling forth for the spirit world to help her in her creative undertaking. They would, with a pen and paper in hand, she would go into a trance and she would start writing. Okay. After the outpourings were typed out, they were brought to the set the next day and given to the director. And that's what the movies that were made.
My goodness.
So if you go on YouTube and you look at the movies that Valentino made, those scripts were
Directly
literally
from the
handed from the demonic world.
A script written in a day by
Literal demons wrote the script.
The human mind can't even make that happen, but
Yeah.
these demons have already had it planned out.
Just imagine the movies
Who's going to
today.
allow us to write through them?
Right.
And they were like a team. Who does that remind you of in the sports world? Where the wife is like doing these spiritual.
Oh, that was
practices.
he's a big
Oh,
NFL player. Hold on, he's a
his
quarterback.
wife was a witch or something.
Yeah, what was his
Are
name?
you talking about Brady?
Oh my goodness, Brady. Yes.
Any superstitions going into the game? Any special thing you carried into the game on Sunday that you had tucked away somewhere?
I did. I always, I've learned a lot from my wife over the years. She's so about the power of intention, and believing things that are really going to happen. And she always makes a little altar for me at the game because she just wills it so much. And so she put together a
Yeah,
little
the way
altar
he's
for me that I
talking
bring up
about
pictures of my kids, and I have these little.
Dude, you've been bewitched, bro. She got you under a spell, bro. She's got you. She got you thinking this stuff is fine. Oof.
It does not. No.
Special stones and healing stones and protection stones that she has me wear a necklace and take these drops she makes. And I say all these mantras. And I stopped questioning her a long time ago. I did. I just shut up and listened. And at first I was like, this is kind of crazy. And then about 4 years ago, we were playing the Seahawks and she said, you better listen to me. This is your year, but this is all the things you're going to have to do to win. And I did all those things. And my God, it worked. It was pretty good. And then in 2015, it was about early January, and she said, "You know how much I love you?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I just want to let you know this is not gonna be your
Manipulation.
year." Oh. And of course, we lost. I said, "What does 16 look like?" And she said, 16 is going to be your year. So it was early January this year, and I said, "Babe, I asked her, like, do we have a chance?" And she said, "Yeah, but you're going to have to do a lot of work, and you're really going to have to listen to me." So, man, I listened to her. And right after the game, she said, "See, I did a lot of work. You do your work, I do mine."
They do that to
She
normalize.
says, "You're lucky you married a
They
witch."
do that
Good
laugh
witch.
thing. That's what they. That's what
His wife, Giselle,
television.
yeah, she was the Victoria's Secret model, who is a witch. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, this stuff still happens today. So Mae West, you heard of Mae West?
Oh, see me sometimes.
Yeah, look at this guy. He even knows a line from her movies.
These cartoons would say and stuff like
That's,
Bunny and all that.
yeah, that's actually really impressive. You heard of Mae West? Never heard of Mae West. Wow. Okay, we're not going to digress here too long.
My mom is so proud right
So listen to this. This is Mae West right here.
1930s, motion pictures were one of the mainstays of the Great Depression, and attendance to movie theaters skyrocketed.
Hello, folks. I'm up here at Mr. Gorman's Film Theater to see the grand opening, the premiere of my new picture, I'm No Angel. Of course, I didn't call it I'm No Angel for nothing. Don't forget, come up and sing this one time.
Movie star Mae West was also known as the Queen of Sex and the Statue of Libido. Her work helped to topple the biblical...
Yeah. She said, "I'm no angel."
It's not just that; it's part where they call her the Queen of Sex and the Queen of Libido.
The Statue of Liberty is the Statue of Lucifer, by the way. And I know people are gonna get mad at that. That's true.
And this is why I'm thankful I didn't go into the entertainment industry. Almost did, because my mom, her and my adopted sister and my birth mom, they were movie extras for movies like Natural Born Killers, Baby's Day Out, stuff like that. I almost didn't end up in the movies, and now when I look at this, I'm thankful I didn't.
Sexual boundaries that were deeply embedded in the people of the early 20th century.
She can have a romance with somebody outside of wedlock. It was pretty
This is the breaking down of
that era.
When I'm good, I'm very good. But when I'm bad, I'm better.
No star had greater impact in the long run than Mae West. Mae West was a one-woman sexual revolution.
So here's what's going on here. America, you have to understand the history of our country. Like, we are rooted in Christianity. This country had a lot of, like, you know, Christian values, Christian morals. During this era, there wasn't a lot of the stuff that we see today. I mean, our media has totally tanked. So we got some pretty, like, evil stuff out there, but that just wasn't really the case. And here comes along Mae West, which toppled over the biblical understanding of sex inside of a marriage, right? So listen to this. This is Mae West's psychic, okay? His name was Kenny Kingston, and he's reflecting back on Mae West in her life. When she was upset that no one had been able to come up with a script idea, she would walk about her room saying,
Okay, it was Mae West.
please come and help me with the script. You talked about this.
I would do this kind of stuff all the time.
Right.
I would say, you know, help me with this path, help me with this thing that I'm trying to do. And I used to do automatic writing.
And when you actually invite the spirits in, so did you ever actually have experience of that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I would be trying to figure out, you know, what my next steps were, and I would ask for guidance, and then I would just start writing, and I would do automatic writing.
Would you feel your hand actually moving, or is it just like whatever was coming out of
It's
your mind?
more just like whatever comes out of your mind, you just start writing stuff down, and then all of a sudden you have all these ideas, and it starts to make sense.
Wow.
Did you feel like they were your own, or you knew exactly where they were coming from?
I felt like I knew I was getting guidance. I was getting
Like you were
supernatural
talking about
guidance.
that download, you know, that
Yeah, like,
instant
yeah.
knowledge right then.
Yeah, download would be different. It's more auditory, where the writing, it just flows.
Wow. So she would get these forces to come into her and help her write a script. And then this is what would happen. She would begin to hear the voices, images, the plot was revealed to her. She would summon the stenographers and tell them to work around the clock. And she would lie in bed in a trance-like state, dictating as the spirits entered her. And she would write the scripts and hand those to the director, and that's what they'd make. This is way back when. We don't even get into the modern age yet, right? So you look at Mae West and the movies that she made. Remember, she mentioned earlier, I Am No Angel, right? Or she has like the sex at the sensational Mae West. So these are topics that we look at today. We don't even bat an eye because we're so used to sexual bombardment, right? But this was racy stuff back then.
When you think about it, it's like the devil is writing his Bible. Think of how the Christian Bible was written. John on the Isle of Patmos getting these visions and writing for our time today.
That is an excellent point. He's working through people, and really, like, I know this is going to sound really weird, but the Bible is a collection of a bunch of stories, and that's how we learn about God.
Right.
The devil has a collection of stories
Wow.
in a visual format, and that's how we learn about the devil's world. That's what he's doing. How about this character, Marilyn Monroe?
Trying to copy
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
You ever heard of her? Do you know what's really interesting?
Oh,
There
here
is
we
really
go.
not a person I have met yet, no matter what
Here we
age,
go.
other than somebody that's really, really
All
young.
right.
But if you're old enough to like watch, play on the internet or watch TV, then most people have heard of Marilyn Monroe. This person is massively famous. So here's a little video clip with Marilyn Monroe.
Monroe attributed her ability to affect the public to other entities that would inhabit her and take her over. She was known for entering into deep trances before each scene. One of Monroe's close personal psychics recalled how she would draw attention from the spirit world, asking for their guidance.
When she saw a camera, any camera,
Notice it's the same thing with all.
and it was totally different. The moment the shot was over, she fell back into her not very interesting position. And I don't know how to explain that.
That's almost verbatim what Beyonce says about
Yeah,
Sasha
that's
Fierce.
exactly what
She's
I was
like,
thinking.
Like this is just like one person
not
like
very interesting, but when I'm Sasha,
happening
I sing
all
strong
these
and I do all this.
Sasha's my
people who
auntie.
basically pioneer.
And when people see me, sometimes I think that when they meet me and they speak with me, they're expecting Sasha. And I'm really kind of shy, and not really shy, but more reserved, and nothing like Sasha. She can do things that I cannot do when I'm in rehearsal. I mean, I can try, but then it just doesn't happen. I can sing notes and sing strong and do all these things that when I'm just by myself, I can't do.
The second that the cameras turn on, she's someone else.
Mhm.
The second you turn them off, she's totally someone else. And he says, I can't explain that.
It's interesting how they attach this man to these people.
Mhm.
You saying the same spirit guide for the previous person is the
Mae
same one
West.
for
Yeah, that was
Marilyn.
Kenny Kingston. Yeah, yeah.
It's
Isn't that
intentional.
interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are around a lot of these dirty, spiritualistic things. That's why we see so much of the New Age. If the stuff that's being written is coming from these psychics and these people who are communicating with spirits,
Mhm.
then what's the message that we're getting when we sit in a dark room and stare at a blinking light, right? Listen to what Marilyn Monroe says. Jacqueline Hyde, I'm more than two. I'm so many people, they shock me sometimes. I wish it was just me. She was
Poor lady was being
tormented by the
tortured
voices that she
by
heard in her head, all the
demons.
communication.
And I can
They
relate
were
to that.
tormenting her.
Where you allow so much in your mind, and it's like, who's the real me? And it's like, I'm just trying to discover myself. And then when I come out of it, you see, all these different thoughts and emotions that would come over you that they weren't me.
Yeah.
And it gets exhausting.
Right. And if you're opening up your chakras, you're opening up your third eye, you're opening your life to these spirits, they're just coming and flowing right into you. And then it's like confusing to you,
She was tormented, but that's just the devil being in character. For the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but the Lord comes to give life and to give it more abundantly.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. How many guys remember I Love Lucy?
Oh, no,
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the episodes?
No, I haven't seen episodes, but
I love Lucifer. That's what that stands for.
I don't know if I want to go that far, but still. Me,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy the show. I Love Lucy. I do enjoy that. So is my friend too. So I'm like, crap. But I'll listen to it anyway.
You can watch it later, but I want to show you the part with Hugh Jackman. So just, let's skip through it and see if you can find it.
Okay, what part am I looking for?
Hugh Jackman. See if you can see his face pop up or something.
Is his face supposed to pop up?
Yeah, Hugh Jackman. Like a younger Hugh Jackman, but you should recognize him. There he is. See long hair? Wait, no, that different guy.
That was like
yeah,
some
hold
dude
on.
who created Watchmen.
No, there was another there.
That's
Okay,
it.
try
Wow.
Try to skip back like 10 minutes or so, or 10 seconds. I mean,
I think I did. Okay, let's see.
You know who Hugh Jackman is? Okay. Well, do you know how he came to be an actor? No, but it's very interesting. He went on the BBC and he was telling the backstory of how he actually got his first gig. Listen to this.
It's interesting your path to acting because you're a journalism student, aren't you?
So I'm still on hold. My journalism is still on hold. I literally was just putting it off. So I took a few part-time classes and worked at a gym. And at the gym, I met this woman who, this isn't a lie, it sounds like a made-up story, but I was actually joining her up, and she was looking at me, and she just went, and then I said, is everything all right? She said, you don't understand, I'm a white witch. You've got to get into acting immediately.
I'm a white
Well,
witch.
a few part-time classes, it's funny you should mention it. She said, no, you're going to be a big star, and I want you to meet this woman, Penny Williams. I said, who's Penny Williams? She said, she's an agent. Well, I met her, and she's still my agent. And the day after, I did an audition and landed a role on Neighbours.
The very next day, he gets an audition and books the role. What would a spirit literally talk through a medium and tell him, You need to go talk to this lady over here, and you will be famous. Why are you picking him?
Why him? Because he's willing to do what they want.
You know what? I think the spirit world is paying attention. They know, who's going to be an agent of them or who's not. And they're literally directing. It's like God is choosing people to go out and herald His message as well. The devil's doing the same thing. He's hand picking. I want this one. I want this one. And so when we watch these movies, we often think like, man, that person got lucky. You know what? You hear stories like this, and it's like, I don't know how much luck is involved in this.
Right.
Yeah.
These guys are literally being hand-picked by the other side. Why? Because they're the preachers and pastors. They're the evangelists of Satan's messages.
And they're often like the most attractive people,
Right.
the beautiful people are in Hollywood
Right.
because Satan wants to pick a good representative, somebody that people look.
He wants good PR
want to listen to and want to look at and stuff.
What?
The devil wants good PR. That's what he wants.
Good Lord.
He wants diverse representation so that he looks as woke as possible.
Pretty much. Oh my word.
And he wants good PR. He wants to look like the good guy.
I hate today's society now. It is only confirmed it more. Is there anything else I should be aware of in this thing?
That's probably enough for now. If you want to continue doing whatever. Again, put like the link in the description or something, so if people want to watch it, they can watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll do that.
If you want to go back to it later, you can.
Yeah, I put in my bookmarks just because I want to make sure I didn't forget it.
I just wanted to show that because that, like, if anyone's skeptical, they think, oh, you guys are just conspiracy theorists. Like, this is proof right here.
Tinfoil hack.
Straight from there. It's coming from them, not us. We didn't say it. They're saying it. Like,
yeah, I know. They go like
wake up, dude. It's real. It's real. Wake up.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is real. And also, I'm going to do this real quick. Give me 1 second. So, Stephen DeStole, I know what you're doing. I didn't come after you, but keep it up, and I will. Don't make videos about me, and I won't.
Don't. My advice: don't sink down to his level. Don't get like if he says something false, you need to correct him. That's one thing, but don't have a whole competition. Like just
Yeah, I'm not really making a competition or anything. But here's the thing: with this one,
But what I'm saying is like don't let the devil bait you, is what I'm saying. Because he'll try to distract you and try to bait you. So if he says something and you need to like doctrinally correct, then you need to correct him. That's fine, but don't ever be in a position where you feel like you have to personally defend yourself, because at that point they're baiting you.
Right.
So like, don't get personal about it. Is what I'm trying to say. Because I made that mistake before, and you gotta make sure you're led, and you gotta try to exercise discipline. I know it's hard because some of these clowns, they're just
right. Because here's
don't fall for the trap.
I'm not trying to, but the only reason why I was
Because what they want you to do is they want you to waste your time, and they want you to get angry. That's what they're trying to do. Because they're trolls. That's what trolls do.
Right. I'm not really trying to defend myself or anything, but here's the thing. The reason why I went.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just giving advice in case.
All right.
Because I've personally been down I've gone down that path, and God had to slap some sense into me, rebuke me. So.
Right.
Or close the windows at least, and all huddle in the corner. I'm just kidding. Start praying. Well, this lady lives in the northeast area of Texas, about 30 to 40 miles from some major cities. And I asked her, how far can I go in describing her and things like that? And she says, well, just describe generally where it's at. I said, great. I'll honor that. I'll respect that. And before I tell anybody's story, I always like to ask them first, how far you want to go? First name, no name.
Why do I get a feeling this is just another version of a vampire?
I mean, Chupacabra is kind of a type of vampire, sort of. Not exactly. It's not undead, I don't think. And it's an animal, right? Not a human corpse. So, but it has vampire-like attributes.
That's what I'm saying. This feels like another type of vampire. That's what it literally feels like.
That's what everybody says. I think that's what everybody says. There's probably some truth to that. Because you got to think, a vampire is a type of demonic spirit. Now,
yeah,
that type of demonic spirit will possess and reanimate dead corpses. But who's to say it can't do stuff with animals too?
Right.
You are and things like that. Gender is okay, and what part? Okay, so it's in the northeast section of Texas. She has a neighbor who lives on a 20-acre homestead with sheep, all kinds of sheep, and male sheep, female sheep, which are called ewes, and lambs, which are the babies, 2 horses and 2 dogs. Now, the 2 horses and 2 dogs are great signalers, alarm signals for coyotes or wolves or a puma or a mountain lion, something like that that's going to come in after the sheep. And they're great on that. And it's happened before, I guess, because she relies on them. They're great. So one evening, something came into the neighbor's land next to this lady that I know, right, where all these sheep are at, and killed, listen to this, quietly, without the horses or the dogs even knowing what's going on, and they're only a few feet away, 20 feet away. They're killed 5 120-pound ewes, which are the female mama sheep.
Oh my gosh.
Where all their throats were ripped out, and one of them had its whole hide ripped completely off.
Oh my.
Damn it! Yeah, that's very aggressive. Usually, from what I've read from vampire folklores, they don't usually rip the whole throat out. Not typically. They don't actually feed from the neck at all. Actually, they usually. I looked in the original folklore, and it's pretty consistent. Usually, they feed from the heart, from the chest. Yeah. So they'll get into the arteries, right, in the chest. They don't typically go for the neck. And it's usually they leave not necessarily cartoonishly like Hollywood movies, 2 pinpricks necessarily, but they'll leave kind of like an insect mark on the chest usually. I don't know if you've seen Nosferatu, because Eggers is he's obviously part of their club, right? And he's very openly into the occult, and he's done his research. He knows the folklore, and I'm not praising him or anything. I'm just saying that as a matter of fact. And he made the movie Nosferatu, right? Just if vampires do exist, I'm not saying they do, but if they do exist, that movie is probably the most accurate out of any other movie that's came before as to what it would actually look like. That's the most accurate based on written accounts, eyewitness accounts from people who allegedly encountered the real thing.
I just thought this thing would just go after the blood. I didn't think it was going to rip its whole throat out and rip its whole.
Yeah, this is not a typical vampiric type thing. Wow, it's completely dismembering. It's really aggressive. It's not beyond the normal what you would just typically associate with vampire. Because vampirics are usually stealth predators, so they'll first off, they won't just kill their victims. Usually they'll drain them and leech off them very slowly. It's a very long, slow, and painful, agonizing death. Mm-hmm. They'll torment and taunt their victims. They'll appear in them in kind of a nightmare type of sleep paralysis type of deal, which we know is demonic. They don't typically just go for the kill. They like playing with their food. They're demons, so they like causing as much pain and suffering as possible. So they'll drag it out, and they'll make it to where it's not as noticeable.
God.
One ram, the male, one ram had some throat damage, but was alive because he butted his way out of it probably.
Yeah.
And then 4 baby lambs were gone. No drag marks. And this is a strange thing, considering that they were 2 horses and 2 dogs there near, that they didn't respond to any kind of intrusion, an intruder, but stayed quiet. And that is the strange thing, to say the least. Normally the dogs would be barking and the horses, she said, over anything. And the thing is that there was no blood spatters or blood on the ground where the dead sheep lay. It looked like it just dropped there. There was no drag marks or anything. They just dropped there. They were killed and then dropped, so to speak, is the way the guy looking at them. The police brought along somebody, I forgot who it was, but they looked at it and said, this is strange. No drag marks could be found. Of course, the lady that owns the land can see that too. Also, the sheep were attacked at the front of their necks. This is interesting. At the throat, directly at the throat, rather than the usual natural way in the animal kingdom where they grab them behind their necks to drag them away or to break their necks or whatever at first. As a wolf will do that, a puma, a mountain lion, wolves will do that. If you see what I mean, not just on the front, directly to the front like that, which is very strange. And then they would only go after one and carry it off. And you see the drag marks in the blood to eat it somewhere else. And this thing seems to slaughter for the joy of it.
Yeah.
Okay?
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Yeah. But the blood was missing though on top of all that. So he's very
doesn't need it to survive.
Big drinking habit.
What's
It
that?
doesn't need the blood to it doesn't need the blood to survive, because if this thing is actually vampiric, then it's probably already dead. It doesn't really need anything. It likes the blood because demons like blood. That's a demonic trait, more so than the vampiric trait.
Right.
Demons are attracted to blood. That's why satanic rituals, they do blood rituals. I don't know if you ever heard of the witch's tea, but according to like the witch beliefs during the witch trials, right? It was believed that witches, people entered into a pact with a demon. There would be a part on their body that would be almost like a teat, like a breast, but instead of oozing milk, it would ooze blood, and this would energize the demon. The demon would feed off it in exchange for favors or whatever.
What the hell?
So like the blood drinking thing is inherently demonic, and the association of blood drinking with vampires is because of the demonic nature of the vampire. And if you can go to like the book of Enoch, like it says, the giants would drink the blood.
The giants did that too?
Yup. They would eat people, and they also like to drink their blood.
Disgusting.
Yup. But think about it, because there's a certain mystery when it comes to like the blood. Like, remember, Christ gave his own blood, so there's something that the fallen angels know about the blood that humans don't really understand, and that's why they're after it. Just like with the vaccine thing. Remember, it's about the blood.
Easy with that.
Why?
When you say the V word, they'll think it's like something else. That's why I have to say like jabs or whatever.
Oh, because you're afraid of it taken down? Yeah, my bad. Yeah,
I don't think they'll take it down, but they start cracking down on a few things I've noticed.
The jibber jabs.
Yeah, jibber jabs. The jib jibs. The jib
jibbers. The jibber nabbers.
Jibber creepers.
All right, let's not joke about that.
Sorry.
But he loves blood. And
That's serious.
But some of them won't.
Huh?
That's dead serious. Let's not joke about it.
Yeah, I know.
I just got told just now.
Missing your blood. So, anyway, she had her windows open, and the lady that owns them and would have heard something. Even her. Even if the horses didn't, react, it was all quiet. And the lady that was telling me the story only lived 50 feet from where the sheep were. This was all happening under her nose too. That's what's so creepy about this whole thing. And she didn't hear anything from that direction, because the window was facing in that direction, and it was wide open, and she didn't hear anything. Now later on, in a particular evening, that same lady that was talking to me told me this particular story where she was feeding some raccoons. I think there's like 10 to 20 of them at a time, I believe is what she said. She seems to be like the raccoon lady of Northeast Texas, you know. But I like raccoons myself. You know, I've been around a couple of them that were pets. They're very funny animals. I mean, really nice to be around. You laugh because they're really funny, humorous. I mean, well, anyway, they come up to her porch and they keep their distance, and she feeds them and all that. So she went inside to get something real quick, and when she came back out, every one of them was gone. They don't do that because the raccoons, they're very insistent type little critters, and they're not going to go. They want their food. And they were eating their food, and she was going in to get something else. And there was this particular older one that's a little sick or just too old, and they pick on it. So it'll come earlier and take a position in the corner of her porch, hidden under the barbecue grill to get away from the others. And she will be fed specially by this lady some extra nice little goodies, you know, for health reasons with vitamins and things to help it along. Well, it was gone too, and it moves real slow. So something was strange, and she, as I said, she only was gone for about a minute or so, and they were all gone. So she was wondering what was going on, and she heard some bushes rustling about 30 feet away, if I have it correct, about 30 feet away. So she turns her flashlight towards the bushes and didn't see anything, but she heard an ungodly hiss coming from the bushes. You know, I know it. And by the sound of the bushes, she estimated, because the way the foliage is, it's up around 4 to 5 feet, the foliage. And it was brushing up against that, and she could hear the foot, hear it walking or something in the dry grass or whatever it was. And it was at least 4 to 5 feet tall, and that's not a chupacabra, if I'm correct. I don't think they're that tall. And she agreed. Now, 30 miles from her, about 30 to 40 miles from her, right in an area that's right between two big cities, two of the biggest ones in Texas, so to speak, without mentioning any people around there, all talking about these ungodly screams. And so did this lady, heard the hiss, and she said it was ungodly, and it was something that didn't like her. And the raccoons and everything were gone. No cricket sounding, see what I mean?
Yeah.
Really good.
You know, everything was, it was so quiet that she could hear the rustling and actually analyze the footsteps and the rustling. That's how quiet it was.
Wow.
But what I wonder if we were not mistaken, like sentient or intelligent. Because if it has sentience, then it's definitely demonic.
Pretty much. Good Lord.
But I'm still trying to, because the way it attacks seems very animalistic. I'm not saying demons can't attack animalistically, they can, but usually demons are like very intelligent, they're very smart, and they don't go out of their way to leave a lot of evidence behind.
Right.
So I'm wondering if this thing is actually intelligent or not.
It might be, but I'm not entirely sure.
Because if it's not intelligent, then as opposed to just being a straight up demon possessing something, it might be a type of hybrid or something, some type of genetic, you know, something out of a lab maybe, or something that they're doing. It's another possibility. There could be a demonic element involved, but if it's a straight demon, then you would think it would be intelligent.
All right, so the reason why I'm looking this word up, as everyone can probably tell, some dude who does study thing with Sasquatch or whatever, and he brought this, and I found it to be very curious. I do not know how to pronounce this. I think it's Emites, whatever that says. I don't know.
A what? Let me zoom in. I can't remember. I'm have a tiny little phone screen. I can barely
Oh
see.
yeah, you're right. Hang on. Okay.
Emites. So let me see. Okay. Let me look that up. Hold on 1 second. Can you still hear me?
Right. Yeah, I can hear you right now. Hello to whoever's watching. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to say hello if you want to. Right. So the only reason why, folks, I'm even looking at this because someone who's a follower of mine, he studies the topic of Sasquatch, and he says that the Sasquatches were actually these. And let's see if I can find.
It says a Moabite. So Moabite's one of the Canaanite languages. It says the Moabite name for Rephaim, which Rephaim are unclean spirits. They're associated with the giants, but they're usually like referring to the spirits that when the giants die, they become. That's why you always see Rephaim and like Sheol.
See, 10 to 12.
Did you hear anything I said? Or
yeah, I heard you. I'm sorry. I did.
Okay, I'm just making sure I didn't cut off. But yeah. So it's because Rephaim are typically in the Bible. They're typically described as they're connected to the underworld, which is understood like where because the spirits of the giants, they don't really. They kind of wander in dry places, like they don't, because they're not watcher and they're not human. They don't really have a place. So God cursed them to just wander in kind of like what occultists refer to as the astral realm. That's what they call it. That's where the demons dwell. They think they're encountering like gods, but they're actually encountering demons. Because that's the sort of state of limbo where they're trapped. The demons are trapped.
Yeah,
where they have to wander, and that's why it's forbidden to try to contact the dead. Because if you try to contact the dead, well, there's no such thing as restless spirits except the demonic spirits. The only spirits that haven't quote unquote transitioned or whatever to the afterlife are the demons. You're communicating with demons, not anything else.
Exactly. So when I was talking about the dude who's studying Sasquatch or whatever, this is what the word he brought up. He says they're this, whatever. So Deuteronomy chapter 10, verses 10 through 12 says this. And the Enim had dwelt there in times past as people as great and numerous and tall as the Anakim. They were also regarded as giants like the Anakim. But the Moabites called them Enim. The Horites formerly dwelt in Seir. Again, I do not know how to pronounce these words, so I apologize. But descendants of Esau disposed them and destroyed them from before them, dwelt in their place, just as Israel did to the land of their possession. And then Genesis 14.
So what words do they mention that? I couldn't find the reference.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, I'll bring it up on the screen. Give me a second. Do this. I'm just going to do this and then change to a different Bible because I did not use NIV. I will not use that crap.
Yeah, change to Geneva.
Let's see if I can zoom in.
Okay, no offense to anyone who uses NIV. It's just we like the Texas Receptus Bible.
Yeah, it's not just that, but it's also a Calvinist Bible. I try to stay away from that kind of stuff now. But can you see that okay? Or do I need to zoom up more?
No, I gotta zoom up more.
All right, give me a second.
I need to get a laptop as soon as I'm still stuck with just day labor, but as soon as I get a job, I need to get a laptop.
All right, can you see that?
No, zoom in a little bit more.
I'm already at 200.
You gotta zoom in more. I'm sorry. Okay, that's good.
Right here. Okay.
The Emim had dwelt there in times past, a people great and numerous, as tall as the Anakim. They were also regarded as giants, like the Anakim, but the Moabites called them Emim. The Horites formerly dwelt in Seir, but the sons of Esau deposed them and destroyed from them before them, placed such as Israel did to the land of their possession, which Adonai gave them.
Then they had, I gotta go over here. Genesis. Stupid.
Have you seen that show that came out, House of David?
I have not actually. I don't even know if I even saw a trailer actually.
It's kind of like The Chosen. There's some things I don't really like about it, but what I really did like about it was how they adapted like the story of the Giants and kind of like they put some emphasis on it that you don't in a lot of Christian media and just a lot of Christian circles in general, you don't really see. Like a lot of Christians, they love to avoid that those passages and those things about the Giants. So it's really interesting to see them actually give like some context and actually like, I don't know. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I don't think I saw anything for that. So now that I know, I think I'll take a look see at it.
Okay, but what I really hated about the show is that they made David an illegitimate child. To kind of like, he's being mistreated by his brothers because he was a bastard. That's like, where's that in the Bible? And what their whole reasoning for that was like, because the Psalm says, in sin my mother conceived me, and then there's some passage in the Talmud, like seriously, dude, the Talmud. But the Talmud that they try to argue that maybe David wasn't really legitimate. It's like, dude, that's like, I don't know, it's just completely unnecessary, a little bit slanderous to be honest. I know that probably wasn't their intention, but like you can't just read too much into stuff like that.
Man,
I felt offended. I felt like that was insulting towards David. I don't know, but there's other aspects of the show that were interesting to me.
Gee whiz. Yeah, I don't know anything much about that. I haven't even watched The Chosen yet. I haven't even done that yet at all.
Yeah, I mean, I like the first season, second season. I don't know. I got a bad feeling about it. It kind of went downhill. What it felt like was like I don't know if you've ever watched anime when you were in the world, but some episodes where it's like some episodes where it's like a filler episode.
Yeah.
That's basically the entire Chosen was like. It's just one big filler.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. So I watched anime. I haven't watched it back then, but my friend's husband, he's been introducing me to a lot of anime right now.
Turn with me quickly.
Right now, we've been watching My Hero Academia.
Yeah, that's new. That's beyond my. That's not my generation anime. What I grew up with was pretty much Dragon Ball Z, Death Note. I did watch Tokyo Ghoul and Attack on Titan later on.
I didn't care for Attack on Titan. To me, it was like, bleh.
Yeah, it's a bunch of naked giants running around eating people. What do you expect? But I don't know. Attack on Titan was. I mean, it's a worldly anime. It's straight evil, but as a worldly person, I enjoyed it. But it's definitely really bizarre. Like it's weird, and it's one of those shows where everybody dies. It's kind of like the Japanese version of like The Walking Dead. Just everybody dies. There's like no mercy. The main character died. Spoiler alert! I don't care. You guys don't need to watch it anyway. The main character dies at the end. He's killed off because he turns into kind of a villain. He wants to destroy humanity because I don't know, just because. Even he said he didn't really know why. Like, what the heck?
While we were talking about vampirism, I don't know how I missed this, but you got one over here. Real vampirism accounts. And then you got demonic.
Very skeptical. That's probably just talking about people who think they're vampires. Again, I just want to give a disclaimer. I'm not saying necessarily that vampires exist. They could exist because I've looked into it and there's some very interesting stuff. But I'm going to just preface it by saying, when I say vampire, think Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, not freaking Twilight or Some of these people online who say they're sanguinarians, which is some nonsense. They probably have a demon, but they're not actual vampires. They're just regular people who have some weird blood fetish. That's all it is. That's not a real vampire. They call them. You see a lot of articles. They say real vampires. A lot of videos. Real life vampires. That's not a freaking vampire, dude. A vampire is an undead, demonic corpse. It's not like a living person. Again, think Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. That's a perfect illustration. That's what it is. According to folklore, according to historical accounts, yes, there are actual, literal historical accounts, not fictional accounts, historical, non-fictional accounts of people who claimed actual vampire epidemics. Courts got involved. It was investigated. You had military generals, doctors, people of all backgrounds investigating these paranormal phenomena and coming to the conclusion. People were previously skeptical, coming to the conclusion that, oh my gosh, there's literal vampires. So again, take it with a grain of salt. I know it sounds crazy, but there's some interesting stuff that I never heard of before. I thought it was like, wow, that's wild.
Let's see here. Supposedly, this one guy right here, and just a heads up, he's not a Christian, but when I look at these things, all I do see is demons. But supposedly he had actually accounts of seeing some.
Oh, is this?
Huh?
Is this that guy who was like LARPing?
The guy was what?
That dude who was like role playing. The dude who said that he knew someone who was a vampire and they were fighting vampires or something. Is that guy?
Wait, this dude was role
I
playing.
think you sent me a clip. I think you sent me a video of him, and it looked similar. Yeah, I think that dude's a role playing.
I don't know, because here's the thing. Here's what I'm.
I watched his video on like the supposed vampire. It sounds like freaking role play, dude. Like freaking Dungeons and Dragons.
I don't know if it is or not, but I do find it really weird because here's the thing. He has not said a word for a good while, and I actually did get in contact with him. And I asked him, hey, are you okay? He said, yes, stuff's been going on. I'll explain later in a video. And I'm like, what the hell's going on?
But I don't know. It sounded like it's just freaking role playing. It didn't sound like an actual account.
You could be right.
Because again, I read actual historical accounts. I know what to look for, what to expect.
But here's your
I know about the Highgate vampire case, which Sean Manchin's doing. I think there's a very good possibility that's real.
But here's your
because again, numerous eyewitnesses. It was in the newspaper. People were coming forth reporting it. A whole investigation was done. The police let the British Occult Society, which is a paranormal investigation, like an actual real paranormal investigation organization, like ghost hunters, witches, psychics, stuff like that. They do that kind of research, and the police let them have access, and they kind of let them. They didn't let them do whatever they wanted, but they gave them some leeway. Yeah. Because the police even thought that something was going on.
I'm not sure how much of it may be true or not because I still question that myself. But
again, like I've spoken with Sean Manchester personally, and he doesn't come across as he comes across as a very humble. He's a Catholic, he's a Sedevanticist Catholic, so he kind of. As part of the old Catholic Church, he was the bishop there, so they separated from the Pope, but he's still Catholic in as far as practice and theology, but he just doesn't agree with the current Pope. So they kind of split, but so he's not a real Christian, I wouldn't say, because we don't believe that Catholicism. But he does come across as a genuine person. He really believes what he saw. He's not making it up. In his mind, he really believes it was a vampire. And it's not just him. It's a whole bunch of eyewitnesses and people who've come forth.
Yeah.
People will back him up. There was a whole investigation. He was part of the expedition team that, they tracked this thing down. there was a man who was an atheist who later, I think he later became Christian. I'm not sure, or Catholic at least. But he was an atheist. He didn't believe. He was totally skeptical. That's why they brought him, because they needed the skeptic, the kind of unbiased things, you know. And he came away like, yeah, this thing was a literal corpse that was just like running after us, like he saw it. Like this thing was metamorphosizing, it was turning into like this black smoke and materializing. It had like freaking nails, like sharp nails, like just like the Nosferatu movie. I mean, just like picture that. But instead of a mustache, picture a beard and kind of, you know, a top hat in a cape. But like this thing was what he said is like they tracked it down, and this was a kind of like Bulgarian or Eastern European individual, and his body was at around like maybe around like, was it the 17th century or 18th century or something? Like his body was relocated to Highgate for some reason, and this thing was an undead vampire. There was a satanic cult. This is documented. There was a satanic cult. They were doing rituals at the site where the vampire was thought to be active. Satanic rituals, opening doorways, and these Satanists were disinterring bodies. They were disturbing the graves, and they were moving a black casket, which is where the vampire was, and relocating it, doing rituals around it. Presumably, they made some kind of deal with this thing. Who knows? But this was an actual satanic cult that was active in Highgate, and they were supporting this thing that people were seeing, reporting. There was one lady, she reported that she woke up at night and she saw this thing standing over her, and it had grabbed her arm, and she pulled away. She freaked out. She pulled away violently, and it left like gashes in her arm from its sharp nails.
Man.
This was in 1970s Highgate Cemetery. But yeah, definitely look it up, because I don't know, it's very interesting. Again, I spoke with Sean Manchester. He comes across to me as a very genuine type of person. Like he seems kind of humble, kind of, you know, like he's not the type of person who wants to publicize this. Like he wants to warn people, but he doesn't really like talking about it. Like you could tell it's traumatic for him. Like the experience, he doesn't like reliving it. And sometimes like he'll just say like, I don't want to talk about it.
Right. I'll pay attention. I promise I am.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like for those who might be skeptical. So again, I'm not saying necessarily it was a real vampire. I'm just saying from where I'm standing, it seems like a possibility to me personally. And I did a deep dive into like all the lore, the research. I've read Montague Summers, who's definitely check out his books. The Vampire's Kids and Kin, the Vampire Europe, very fascinating, very interesting. And again, this stuff lines up like it's. And again, the simple question is: if you're a Christian, right? For those who are not Christian, I mean, obviously they're gonna think this is stupid. But if you were someone who's a Christian, you believe demons exist. Well, if demons can possess living people, who's to say they can't possess dead bodies? I mean, it's possible, right? If God allows it, obviously. God has to allow it. Nothing can happen if God doesn't allow it. But if God allows it, then demons could probably do that, right? I mean, think about it. We've temporarily kind of caused bodies to kind of reanimate with electricity, right? Like you see, like, I don't know if you heard of videos of people that experienced, they shocked bodies and their bodies started moving. They didn't come to life. The body started moving. They didn't actually, it wasn't that resurrection or anything like that. And I just want to preface this by saying that if such a thing were to exist, an undead being, it's not a resurrection. That thing is not alive. It's a false counterfeit of the resurrection, not an actual. That thing is not brought back to life.
Right.
And it's not the person coming back; it's a demon. I just want to preface it by saying that, because only God can actually legitimately raise the dead. But demons can probably do certain things to bodies to make them more malleable, more manipulatable. And, electricity, they can maybe generate static electricity. Because I know the cases of demonic manifestations that it does generate static electricity. So that could contribute to like the whole undead thing. Just my personal 2 cents theory.
Uh-oh. Hang on 1 second. Keep going, Mike. I'll be right back. Yeah, the dogs were about to go nuts because all my roommates just got back.
But yeah, it's wild because that's one of those things you think, oh, this is totally fiction. You think Twilight, you think Anne Rice, you think Bram Stoker's Dracula. But then you start looking, like you see like actual historical accounts of people who legitimately believe vampires existed and that, these things were actually real. And my whole life I was brought up thinking, oh, it's just like a story. I didn't even know that existed. Like those kinds of accounts and stuff. It never even occurred to me. So that really shocked me finding out about that. Because it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. You don't really hear about.
And that's why I will say to people, like, I don't want them to take my word for it, because you're saying.
Yeah, and like I understand, like there has to be. We can't just believe anything anyone said. Like there has to be a level of healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like you got to balance it out. You got to be a little bit crazy and a little bit weird to balance it out, because a lot of people, they don't have a healthy skepticism. They just have a naturalistic bias, and they just anything supernatural. It's just like, oh, we have to roll it out.
Right, and that's why I don't know if I even say it a lot all my videos.
I feel like I'm kind of maybe balancing things out a bit more by being more open to these types of possibilities.
And that's why, like I said, I don't know if I say enough in my videos, but I will say, do not take my word for it, because here's the thing. I want them to hear what I have to say, but in the end, take it as you will. Read your Bible, do your research, but pray before you do. Because there's a good chance your mind's going to get scrambled by Satan or one of his goons. There's a good chance of that. And here's the thing. I think
like I said, like I think the problem with a lot of like Christians or so-called Christians nowadays is like people make a lot of stuff into a doctrine that shouldn't be made into a doctrine. Like it's okay to have like speculation. Like everything doesn't have to be like, a statement of faith, like a dogma or anything like that. Like certain things are they're just like for example, the shape of the earth. Some people believe flat earth, some people believe it's a globe. I'm not too sure. I mean, I'm not an astrophysicist. I didn't do a whole bunch of, all I know is just what I learned in like school, but I never really thought about that. Like I'm not an expert.
How I used to
people need to not make stuff like that into a doctrine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it's just your personal thoughts or your personal speculation, that's cool. But the second you start making it into a doctrine, even if you're right, like even if let's just say the earth is flat, it really is. Making it into a doctrine or calling other people heretics because they don't agree with you, like you're still wrong for that, even if you're right about the actual position.
And that's the reason why that's an argument I gave up with the flower stuff, because after that vision I had, we look at the Bible and it says, oh, the circle of the earth. Well, we got to think about it as well. A two-dimensional circle, which is flat.
That's what the Hebrew word literally means, by the way. Again, check out Dr. Michael Heiser on biblical cosmology. There's a lot of scholars, like actual scholars. Some of them are evangelical Christian scholars, and they will tell you the Hebrews believed in biblical cosmology. They believed the firmament was a solid structure. They believed that the earth was like a circle. That's what that word in Hebrew means. It's not talking about a sphere. People who want to try to make it, you're your own ideas onto the text. But just let the text read itself. But Michael Heiser makes the argument, well, we don't have to take these things literally because God just communicated to people based on their own culture and context. And that's one, I mean, I'm not fully satisfied with that argument, but I guess you could make that argument. I think there's some problems with that, but even if the Bible does teach a flat earth, I wouldn't say teach. I would say it assumes a flat earth. It doesn't teach a flat earth because it's not a doctrine or anything. It's just, but the biblical authors do assume that to be the case. But that doesn't mean you necessarily have to take it literal.
Yeah, because
I would lean towards maybe it is. Who knows? Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist. I don't have it. I don't really know that much to really say with any authority regarding that because I'm not an expert on the heliocentric model. I haven't read that much on it. Mostly my area, the things that I can speak like really authoritatively about, even though I'm not a PhD or anything, but you don't need one. But what I am very knowledgeable about is stuff like the dating of the Gospels, whether or not Jesus really resurrected. Those are arguments I'm more confidently, and those are important to the doctrines of Christianity, as opposed to something that's like a side issue, like that's kind of irrelevant, like the shape of the earth, But those are things that, like, I will tell you for a fact, yes, the Gospels were written earlier because I've read and researched enough to be able to speak confidently on that. This is something I can't really speak that confidently about. So I just kind of look at both positions and like, oh, that's interesting. But I don't pretend to know more than I actually know.
The one thing I had about the firmament, because as soon as you were still talking about that a little bit, I kept on thinking, like, if the firmament is not like the dome thing, whatever, for Earth, like what it actually is. And I'm getting this thing.
According to the Hebrews, the people who wrote the Bible, they thought it was a literal solid dome structure. That's, I mean, as far as the scholarship of the Bible, among every academic leader, even the most conservative and evangelical scholars will tell you, yes, that's what that means. That's what they thought. Does that necessarily mean it's a doctrine that you have to believe in? No. Because again, God could just speak to people through their own culture and contextual understanding and make a metaphorical point without it being literal. But that is what the authors were thinking. That's where they were coming from.
Let's get this. All right. Well, I'm pretty much about to hop off only because my friend's back, and we might do this again on Monday. I'm not sure though. Depends on how tired I am because I work tomorrow and I work Sunday, so we'll see what happens with that. And if you're up for it too.
Yeah. But again, check out Dr. Michael Heiser's he has a video like a kind of seminar kind of thing on biblical cosmology. And he goes into the New Testament, how the New Testament kind of borrows a lot of the same cosmological ideas from the Old Testament.
All right, just let me know. I don't know where I'm going at now. I'm sorry, my brain's all fogged up now. I'm stupid.
Have you been drinking plenty of water? You gotta drink my water, dude. I had a problem with brain fog, but it's mainly, I noticed for me personally, it's mainly due to dehydration. You just gotta remember there's more water.
I've been literally drinking nothing but water lately. Today was the first time in a while I've been drinking soda because here's the thing: the only time I drink like sweet drinks, whatever, this was a vitamin water. I was putting water in here as well. When I'm at work, I drink more sweet tea than anything else. But if I'm here at home, it's been water nonstop. So I don't know what's going on, but I've been doing it from the tap. So there's that.
Yeah, the tap's not great.
Yeah, but
who knows what's in there?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Some
avoid.
Weird taste. Tap water just tastes weird. Like it has chemicals or something in it. I don't know.
For some reason, it actually it tastes weird.
Yeah, at least it has like dirt or something in it. Like something in it. It just doesn't taste like water.
Don't know what that was about. But yeah, here I don't really smell anything weird with the water, but with the tap water that was in Indiana, all you smelled was straight up bleach. That's all you smelled.
Ooh.
Literally, I'm not serious. You don't taste it, but you can smell it.
That's weird.
What is he doing out there?
Well, if it smells like bleach, you probably shouldn't drink it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a great idea. Just to be on the safe side.
I still can't take you seriously with that freaking donkey. I'm being a donkey. We'll go fishing, okay?
I kind of am Balam's donkey, though. For real. I'm just being real. I'm just being humble. I'm literally just a donkey. And, you know, God speaks to me sometimes.
I was gonna make a joke with that. I'm not gonna make a joke. I'm not making the joke. But anyways, I'm gonna see what's going on out there, and I'll talk to you later.
All right.
All right. Later.
God bless.
God bless. And I'm not he has to do it himself. I just removed him from the stage. He has to get himself out, I guess. But all right. To be honest, I didn't know how this was gonna go, but like I said, I gotta get off of here real quick. If you guys enjoyed the live, thank you all for joining. I do appreciate it. And again, please hear what we have to say. Just don't take our word for it. Look up for yourself. You really have to turn it up that loud, really? Research stuff for yourself, but pray before you do. And with that, God bless you all, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.